Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Aaron.
And I'm Ephraim Graham. The president meets with 16 top-ranking lawmakers from both parties at the White House today. They're hoping to find areas of common ground, but the president doesn't sound optimistic, and Republicans are warning him not to try and act without Congress. The big question is, will President Obama and congressional Republicans work together on key issues facing our country? The president says he's willing to hear GOP ideas, but he also cautioned there will be disagreements.
Congress will pass some bills I cannot sign. I'm pretty sure I'll take some actions that some in Congress will not like. That's natural. That's how our democracy works.
The American people made it clear on Election Day. They want to get things done. And they don't want the president acting on a unilateral basis.
House Speaker John Boehner laid out an agenda for the new Republican-led Congress. He promised the approval of the Keystone XL pipeline to bring oil from Canada to the U.S. Gulf Coast. Republican leaders also talked about working to repeal or trim Obamacare and reforming the tax code. But on a very contentious issue, the president says he will take executive action on immigration reform.
What I'm not going to do is just wait. I think it's fair to say that I've shown a lot of patience.
However, both Boehner and soon-to-be Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell warned the president that using executive orders to change the immigration system will be devastating for any attempts at bipartisanship.
I believe that if the president continues to act on his own, he is going to poison the well. When you play with matches, you take the risk of burning yourself. And he's going to burn himself if he continues to go down this path.
It's like waving a red flag in front of a bull to say, if you guys don't do what I want, I'm going to do it on my own.
Before the end of the year, the president is expected to establish a path to citizenship for some immigrants who have been in the U.S. illegally. He's also expected to act to increase border security.
Oklahoma Senator-elect James Lankford says he will bring his biblical worldview to bear on problems like the national debt. Lankford says the book of Nehemiah stresses the importance of retiring debt and rebuilding infrastructure. He also told Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council he will work to protect the religious rights of all Americans at work and in every part of life. Lankford is a longtime Baptist minister, and he says Americans who are concerned about the nation's problems should pray as much as they complain.
The march towards gay marriage hit a roadblock this week. Thursday, a federal appeals court upheld laws against it in 4 states. This reverses district court rulings that struck down same-sex marriage bans in Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and in Tennessee. Other federal courts have ruled against state laws forbidding gay marriage. The different rulings increases the chances the Supreme Court will decide on the issue once and for all.
The 2014 midterm elections swept a wave of new Republicans into Congress, including a number of conservative women. But some critics are still saying there's a GOP war on women. So is there any credibility to the Democrats' accusations, or were they proved wrong by the election? For an answer to that question, CBN's Mark Martin spoke with Penny Nance from Concerned Women for America.
Despite the fact that the Democrats spent about 60% of their advertising budget waging a so-called war on women, they lost miserably on election night. What we saw were historic gains by conservative women. Women like Mia Love from Utah, who's the first Black Republican woman elected to Congress. Joni Ernst from Iowa is the first female veteran elected to the Senate, and she's a Republican. And what we saw on the flip side of that was the liberal candidates like Sandra Fluke, the poster girl for abortion on demand and free stuff, went down by 22 points in California. And Wendy Davis in Texas, who was, the pro-abortion member of the Texas Senate, who stood on the floor and filibustered for abortion, they were rejected out of hand by voters, and we're very pleased to see that this was a great night for conservative women.
So Democrats like Wendy Davis, you mentioned, and also Mark Udall, who campaigned using that war on women strategy, they were defeated, like you said. So why do you think that is? What are voters saying?
The argument whether or not abortion on demand should be legal, whether or not taxpayers should have to be forced to pay for other people's abortion or abortion-inducing drugs, was juxtaposed with real war. The fact that ISIS has been murdering, raping, selling Christian women, Yazidi women in the Middle East. You can't put those two things side by side and look serious. And so, you know, women got tired, frankly, of being talked down to by liberals and rejected that old fake argument, and we were very pleased with the results.
Exit polls showed unmarried women voted in larger numbers for Democrats. Is the strategy of fear working on some level, would you say?
That's always the case. Married women tend to vote more conservatively. Single women tend to vote more liberal, but the numbers were not there even for them on single women this time. We saw both, you know, for every race is a little bit different, but they just didn't hold the large margins that they held in the past. And so again, they're slipping. They cannot continue to make up phony issues. What we know that women care about are the same issues that everyone cares about. We care about the economy. We care if we have a job. If you're a married woman, you want your husband to have a job. You want there to be a good education for your children. You want your taxes to be low, and you want your faith to be respected. You want to make sure that you can live out your faith in the public square and in America without the kind of issues like we saw in Houston, where your church is being persecuted, your pastor's being persecuted. You can run your business according to the dictates of your conscience, and you're not forced to pay for other people's abortions. It's a broad range of issues, and we plan to continue to talk about that, to work for gains on the issues we care about, including the economic issues, the national debt, energy, security. All of those issues matter to American women, and Concerned Women for America is going to continue to be your voice.
Special Operations Service members and veterans are not happy to see one of their own breaking the code of silence and taking credit for killing Osama bin Laden.
I'm proud of what I did, but my mission didn't end because I left the battlefield.
Decorated veteran and motivational speaker Robert O'Neill says he fired 2 rounds into the forehead of the al-Qaeda leader during the 2011 raid on his secret compound in Pakistan. And he's sharing his story with Fox News, Esquire magazine, and the Washington Post. He could be subject to an investigation or action by the Justice Department if he discloses classified information during any of those interviews. But the internal debate is already picking up steam.
We are most effective when we adhere to our core values. And those core values include humility, service, making sure that we're always quiet professionals who are humble, who are in doing our work.
And Navy commanders recently sent a letter to members of the special ops community warning against, quote, disregarding core values in return for public notoriety or financial gain.
Jihadi fighters are using cruise ships to join extremist battle zones in Syria and Iraq. Interpol officials say the would-be jihad fighters booked cruise tickets hoping to bypass Turkey. That's because of recent crackdowns at Turkish airports. The new airport security measures keep Islamic extremists from getting closer to the war zones. Interpol has a program that lets airlines check passenger information on its databases. They're working on expanding the program to include cruise lines, banks, and hotels.
Egyptian troops are demolishing hundreds of homes, hoping to destroy terror tunnels along Egypt's border with the Gaza Strip. They're evicting thousands of residents in a volatile part in the Sinai Peninsula. That area has become a hub for Islamic radicals for at least a decade. The demolitions are meant to halt the smuggling of weapons and terrorists in and out of the Gaza Strip. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry said security forces have found dozens of tunnels under evacuated houses. Hamas has long used tunnels into Gaza to support its terrorist agenda.
12 months after a powerful typhoon hit the Philippines, CBN's disaster relief teams are still on the ground. Their latest project, an organic farm that's helping countless families earn a livelihood. George Thomas has the details.
Nympha Babula knows how fortunate she is to be alive today.
Nothing was left of our possessions. Our house was destroyed. All our belongings gone.
A year ago, the world's most powerful storm to ever hit land slammed into the Philippines, killing thousands.
I told my sons we will overcome this adversity. We were given a second chance to live, and that's why we will overcome this.
In a small village not too far from her destroyed community, Babula and 60 other Filipino families are putting that spirit to work at a unique CBN disaster relief organic farm.
We learn about hard work and the techniques of organic farming. And of course, when you plant, you will harvest. And that's why I'm so happy to be part of this project.
The farm is a first of its kind in this region.
We plant tomatoes, potatoes, chilies, peppers, corn, bitter melon, string beans. We use no chemicals, and so we are able to teach the people to eat what is good for their bodies.
The goal is to give families who've lost everything a sustainable livelihood that can also build self-confidence.
People have a mindset that they cannot do it, but we are teaching and giving them agriculture training so they will learn how to earn a living. And now that they have harvested, they are happy.
As a single mother of 6, Babula was struggling to put food on the table before the typhoon hit.
I used to sell food that I cooked in the market, but I was not earning that much money.
But now trips to the market have taken on new significance.
I can't wait to bring the vegetables to the market. Thank you very much, CBN. Because of your help, we are able to stand again. In time, I know that our farm will become bigger and we will earn more. Thank you for giving us hope.
And judging from the huge success of this project, CBN Disaster Relief is planning to start a piggery, poultry, and fish farm.
It is not enough to give houses to victims of the typhoon. We need to give them means of livelihood. And that's what's happening with this farm. We help them get up on their feet, assure their sustainability, and help them build back better.
George Thomas, CBN News, Palo Leyte, Philippines.
Coming up, want to know what movies are hitting this weekend? Our family-friendly movie reviewer gives us his rundown on the latest releases. The weekend is here, so you may be looking for a little family-friendly entertainment. Here with our regular movie reviews is Bob Waliszewski from Plugged In Online. That's the entertainment review department at Focus on the Family. Bob, let's start with the new animated film Big Hero 6. Is it safe for kids?
It is. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. Essentially, it follows a 14-year-old brainy whiz kid named Hiro Hamada. His brother's killed in a fiery crash, and he, along with a robot, this marshmallowy, I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen the trailer, this marshmallowy robot that he created, and 4 of his brother's whiz kid friends all become a superhero group to fight this masked villain that probably is behind that fiery crash. A lot to like here, from friendship to courage to self-sacrifice, and only a little bit of high-action peril for some parents to be concerned about, parents of maybe younger kids, but a 4.5 out of 5. That's pretty much Plugged In saying it's a thumbs up for families this weekend.
Awesome. Well, there is a new space adventure called Interstellar starring Matthew McConaughey. Tell us about that one.
Well, this is Christopher Nolan's newest film. He's behind Inception and the Dark Knight trilogy. And if we were rating a film for how visually stunning it was, this would get a perfect score of 5 out of 5. But of course, we don't rate for visually stunning. Matthew McConaughey is an ex-astronaut, now a farmer, set sometime in the near future when a blight has ruined all of the Earth's crops except for corn. And he, of course, is farming corn. But one day he discovers that NASA, which he believed to be completely shut down, has been secretively still in existence, and they convince him as an ex-astronaut to become an astronaut once again and take off to the galaxy to look for a planet that perhaps could be used to recolonize humanity, since apparently humanity is not going to make it on planet Earth. A lot to like here, too, especially a father's love for his children. Matthew McConaughey's character is so reluctant to leave his family, and it's pretty touching. Courage, self-sacrifice again as well. And although God is never talked about in this film, you can't help but watch the views of space and black holes and wormholes and say, there's a designer behind all this. Again, that's my opinion. You can see that in this film, kind of like last year's Gravity, if you will. Now, that said, there's nods to evolution and there's a handful of profanities as well. We gave this one a 3 out of 5 for family friendliness with teenagers in mind. So it's on the bubble there. Some are going to say no, some are going to say yes. I'd recommend reading our longer review before families make that decision.
Awesome. Well, as always, Bob, thank you so much for your time and for your insights.
You bet. We'll talk next week.
Up next, a girl with leukemia experiences a miracle. We'll take you to Prayer Mountain, where thousands of others have also been healed, when we come back. Well, miracle after miracle after miracle. That's what happens on a regular basis at a place overlooking the city of Dallas.
It's called Prayer Mountain, and for the past 30 years, people have come to this retreat for healing. Jennifer Wishon made the climb to the summit to learn more about the miracles on the Mount.
At the young age of 6, Viviana Ruiz faced a diagnosis of leukemia.
We didn't know the Lord. We weren't saved. We were just going through life. We just didn't know what was happening. I was in first grade when I was diagnosed, and as you could imagine, like our whole life just completely just kind of crashed.
Then came chemotherapy, and Viviana could barely stand the pain.
One day, I was later on in my treatments. I was feeling really, really sick, and they had already done everything they could. Whenever I was feeling sick from the chemo and the cancer, because you feel so sick from the cancer already, but then the chemo makes you, it kills everything, not just the cancer. And the doctor says there's nothing else we can do.
Around the same time, a family friend convinced Viviana's mom to bring her here to Prayer Mountain.
She brought me in, she sat on that side of the pews, and I was asleep. I fell asleep, and my mom said that the whole church stopped, and Pastor Albert stopped the congregation and had everyone come, and they all laid hands on me and prayed for me, and I was asleep through all of it. And then when I woke up, my mom said that I was completely better. I was a new little girl. None of that was affecting me.
Thanks to that miracle on the Mount, the entire family would eventually come to know Christ. Miracles happen here on a regular basis. Pastor Robert Summers and his wife Joanne discovered Prayer Mountain nearly 30 years ago. They say God told them to buy it and build a prayer center at its summit. Since then, they've added a garden, prayer rooms, and a prayer deck overlooking the city. In Dallas, where everything's big, people are climbing the biggest mountain seeking God, and he's answering back in miraculous ways. The word mountain may be a bit of a stretch. Its peak stands at only about 900 feet, but when you reach the top, the views are spectacular.
We have a lineage of prayer in our families that goes all the way back, parents, grandparents, and we know the importance of prayer and what prayer can do to change things.
In the mid-90s, Joanne and her mother were featured in a 700 Club story called The Sea Drift Intercessors. It told the miraculous tale of a group of World War II survivors. The women from Joanne's church gathered daily, interceding for all 52 men from their congregation that were sent into battle, and all 52 returned home safely. She took that experience and now teaches it to a new group of intercessors, including politicians.
For the last 20 years or so that we've been here, every mayor in Dallas, or wannabe mayor, has come out here and asked us to pray with them.
And to the city's young people.
What we couldn't see while we were there at Dallas Baptist University was that the Lord is weaving us into the fabric of this mountain.
as we come together for different denominations, different ethnic groups, and we agree in the place of prayer, it releases power.
Just ask Viviana. She's 20 years old now and gives credit to God and the new generation of intercessors.
I was healed, hallelujah. And just like by his stripes, I was healed, and like I am so grateful for the doctors and the people that, that helped and everything, and for all they have done, and they were just so supportive, but I wouldn't be here without the Lord today. Constantly, the church would tell my mom, she will not die but live and proclaim what the Lord has done. And now, here I am, all glory to God.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Dallas, Texas.
What an absolutely beautiful place.
And the miracles. Oh, God
Mighty
bless. God bless. I'll be making a trip to Dallas for sure.
Me too.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Finally today, the Reverend Billy Graham turns 96 today.
And to celebrate, the evangelist is releasing a program called Heaven, a new message from Billy Graham. The 30-minute program features interviews with Graham at his North Carolina home. It also includes crusade footage from his younger days. His son Franklin Graham says his father is in good spirits and his mind is still sharp. He uses a wheelchair and in recent years has been hospitalized a few times for health-related issues. He will spend the day at home with his family and friends.
Happy birthday, Reverend Billy Graham.
You are a blessing to us all.
Yes, you are. And that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Be sure to tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.